Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Ange Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be doing episode 2 of the Kirchhoff podcast, where I sit here and I go over this week's fantasy news, notes, and anything that has to do with the NFL and the fantasy implications as we approach the 2019 fantasy football season. As we know, my channel is predominantly fantasy football, and I think there's a lot of valuable information that came out this week, whether it comes to Le'Veon Bell or Odell Beckham, and perhaps where they might sign or be traded to. But before we get into that, I want to go ahead and I want to start off by doing a 2019 Superflex mock draft, where I will be drafting at fantasypros.com. Shout out to them for their amazing draft simulator. So without further ado, before we begin, I just want to go ahead and thank all of you. Continue to support my channel. Continue to like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button and click that notification bell to get my videos, right into your box, and you get a notification as soon as my next latest video comes out. So without further ado, again, thank you everybody who continues to support. Let's get into this mock draft, shall we? Okay, click a couple things here. All right, so as I mentioned before, we're here at fantasypros.com. If you guys are interested in drafting, as I am going to be doing today, just go to this website, go to NFL at the very top, go down to 2019 rankings. And then after we do that, you go down here to Draft Simulator. You go ahead and click Draft Simulator, and you end up exactly where I was. So we're going to go ahead and click Start Draft. Again, we are playing a Superflex league. This will be a Superflex draft. As you guys know, I am a guy that is very, very vocal on how much I love playing Superflex. I think it gives a lot more opportunity for players to, I guess, prove that they're more skilled. I feel like when you play in a one quarterback league, you can sit and wait until the 9th round and still get a top 10 quarterback. In a Superflex format, it makes it so where the value of quarterback is that much more, and you have to go out and your drafts are completely different. You have to make a little bit of risky moves here and there. Obviously, there's more players being used when, if you're playing in a 12-team league and there's only 32 starting quarterbacks in the National Football League, that means 4 teams are going to be without a third quarterback. So it makes it that much more competitive and that much more skilled when it comes to drafting your team and approaching how you want to balance your team. I know there's a lot of teams that go and they start off with double quarterbacks. I know there's people that prefer to go with the double running back, or there's the people who like the 0 RB strategy. Obviously, there's a variety of strategies, but personally, I don't know. We'll see what I go ahead with today. But 1 quarterback, 1 super flex, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 regular flex, and 6 bench is fine. We're gonna go with half-point PPR scoring formats because I like to meet it right in the middle. I understand that some of you play full-point PPR and standard. I like to split it down the middle. Half-point PPR is my preferred. As of right now, I do not want a top 6 pick. Now, let me explain to you why. If you haven't seen my latest video about Todd Gurley and whether or not he is still the #1 overall consensus pick as we approach 2019, go check that out. Kind of gives you a little bit more context on my opinions on that matter. But I feel like the top 6 in a Superflex format, it's pretty much set. It's going to be in no particular order: Gurley, McCaffrey, Saquon, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, and Patrick Mahomes. Those are really going to be the top 6. Now, you might be thinking, really, Patrick Mahomes? When you're playing in a 2-quarterback league in which you can start that second quarterback in that super flex spot, yes, quarterbacks are that much more valuable. They go in the first round. In fact, I expect multiple quarterbacks to go in the first round, potentially, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, and then I also expect Aaron Rodgers to come off the board within the first round. But either way, I don't want a top 6 pick, so I'm going to go ahead and just randomize this, and hopefully, we don't get a top 6. Nope, I don't need that. We're going to click it again. Nope, come on. Let's go. Give me something that... No, come on. We don't need a top 6 pick. Okay, what we're going to do, I don't even care what it gives me. I'm just going to... Oh, there we go. Fine. Okay, we'll live with it, okay? Goodness gracious. I was going to grab it and throw it at 12 because it was taking too long. But, okay, the 8th pick, not a big deal. I like it as of right now. And let's get right into it, shall we? Again, this is a 12-team league, half-point PPR, snake format, no big deal, Superflex. All right, so let's go ahead and let's draft away, shall we? Okay, so, yep, that's exactly what I expect. Ooh, wow, okay. I'm surprised Patrick Mahomes went 7. But, the way that this entire draft, I guess, simulator goes, According to the consensus of the experts that work for Fantasy Pros or contribute to the website, their rankings are kind of compiled and the algorithms, blah, 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 math, and then the drafts happen. I do not believe 2 drafts back-to-back, even if you're drafting from the same spot, will be identical. It's often changed drastically different times, just depends, but either way. Let me see here. Let's go ahead. How do I bring up the wide receivers here? How do I reorder? Click below to add the queue. No, we don't want how do I reorder this? Whatever. Okay, it's not a big deal. Okay, well, it's fine. I'll just have to scroll a little bit. No big deal. Okay, so as of right now, as I projected, the top 5 running backs, they're gone. And they went in a pretty decent order. To be honest, I think that's potentially how it could go this season. But anyway, then DeAndre Hopkins went 6th, which I understand in half-point PPR he was the number 1 wide receiver, but that may be a little too high. But I guess if this wasn't a Superflex league, I'd be okay with that pick right there. Patrick Mahomes is 7, and we're sitting here at 8. And to be honest, I am a guy that, yes, I love to play Superflex, but I am not going to spend my number 1 overall pick on a quarterback. That's just not going to happen. I understand Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, Deshaun Watson, they are available, but I feel like going ahead and picking up that RB1 that you're going to have for the rest of the season that's going to carry your team, that is a vital thing. And honestly, I know Melvin Gordon's the best available. He's going to be on my team. I'm going to be drafting him. I understand there's a little bit of a hesitancy within people because of the fact that he's often been injured. This last year with that MCL sprain, he didn't play for a majority of the fantasy playoffs, hurt a lot of teams. But to be honest, when Melvin Gordon's healthy, this team runs the ball efficiently and effectively. They get down to the red zone, and Melvin Gordon scores a lot of fantasy points for the Los Angeles Chargers. And how good that team looked this past season, I think they're going to continue where they left off. Obviously, they need to improve in some spots, but Melvin Gordon is going to be my first overall pick. Go ahead and establish my number 1 running back. Now, that being said, the next 2 picks belong to the Green Bay Packers, with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams going, then James Conner, Michael Thomas, David Johnson. That's a little early, but okay. Aaron Jones, Julio Jones, and Nick Chubb. Wow, Nick Chubb kind of went a little earlier than I would have expected. Okay, now, what is available? Le'Veon Bell is available, but here's the thing about Le'Veon Bell. I don't know where he's going to end up. We're going to talk about it in a little bit after I finish this draft, but I'm not sure where he's going to end up, and I honestly believe, as of right now, I'm not going to draft him because if I don't know, then I don't want to be able to shoot in the dark and get screwed over here. Looking at my other available, prospects, we have Odell Beckham, we have Antonio Brown, Tyreek Hill. These are not bad draft picks. But that being said, I think I want to go ahead and I want to lock down a quarterback. I just looking at the other, prospects at the quarterback position, I don't want Russell Wilson. I don't really want Deshaun Watson. I think Andrew Luck, what he was able to do, improve in the second half of that season, especially if they improve this offense with Jack Doyle coming back. Marlon Mack will be healthy from day 1, unlike last season, which he missed the first 4 games of the season. I think Andrew Luck's the way to go. I want to go ahead and start off by grabbing my 2 most important pieces back to back, which will be Andrew Luck and Melvin Gordon. So let's go ahead and pick up Andrew Luck. I understand that the computer suggested me not to pick him. He actually had a 0% experts agree, as you can see over here. How it shows AJ Green with the 83. It's going to bring my score a little bit down at the end, my grade, but I'm okay with that. I can live with that situation. Now, let's go ahead and see what happened here. All right, so obviously a variety of positions went. Travis Kelce went in the back end of the second round, which, when I get to drafting a tight end, we'll go into that a little bit more. But what is available? The top 3, stud tight ends, they're gone. The available running backs, I'm not specifically, they're not enticing. Damian Williams, though, on the other hand, that is who I want. Damian Williams is a guy that I'm going to be targeting in almost all of my drafts because of how effective and efficient he was as soon as, Kareem Hunt went down and was removed from that team. Kareem Hunt had a fantastic year, and I feel like if Damian Williams was there from day 1, he could have been just as efficient and just as good. So Damian Williams, I really want to pick him. So what we're going to go ahead and do, I think I can wait and let him come back into my lap. So what we're going to go and do, and we're going to go ahead and take a wide receivers. Now, with the available wide receivers sitting here, AJ Green has too many injuries, man. Every year he is out with an injury, and it prematurely ends the season, and I don't want to have to deal with that, especially within an Andy Dalton-led offense. Not great. T.Y. Hilton, not a bad pick because it stacks my Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton stack there. That's pretty good in my opinion. And Amari Cooper, not bad. Was able to produce well as soon as he got to Dallas. Keenan Allen, not bad. Stephon Diggs, not bad. But looking at what the available wide receivers look like, I really feel like T.Y. Hilton, that stack is pretty valuable as of right now. I feel like I can come back for some of these guys just around the 5th round. So what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to pick up T.Y. Hilton. I understand Matt Ryan's not a bad choice at this moment, and neither is Damian Williams. Let's just hope that Damian Williams doesn't end up going off this board. So we're going to go ahead and pick up T.Y. Hilton. Please don't, please don't, please don't. Oh, bless my soul. Woo! Damian Williams is still sitting there, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, here's the thing about drafting. I think he's largely underrated as of right now. I think as of right now, I want to go ahead and pick up my second running back, a guy that is, when you're associated with the Kansas City Chiefs offense and how productive and efficient he was in the second half of the season, goodness gracious, he's going to pick up where he left off, and he's going to be great. So Damian Williams is going to be my pick here. I understand there's guys like Jameis Winston available, but I kind of want to wait, maybe get Phillip Rivers in a little bit. I already grabbed my number 1 wide receiver. I can come back for guys like Kenny Galladay, Robert Woods. Man, if they're still available, once this draft comes back around, that's going to be great. I understand Keenan Allen's there, but I really think Damian Williams is going to have a lot of noise being made, and his name's going to be talking about. They're going to be talking about Damian Williams a lot this coming season, especially as we approach 2019. I understand we're still in February, but he's going to be great. Ooh, okay. You know what? I have to take it. So what am I inferring, or what am I talking about? I have to take Baker Mayfield. I do not want to deal with any of these other quarterbacks. The only other guy that I would consider is Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. Even then, I really think Baker Mayfield, his second year is going to be that much better. I think he was fantastic last season in the amount of time he got to play. The first couple games of the season, he was sitting behind Tyrod Taylor. As soon as they put him in, boom, they're ready to go. So I think Baker Mayfield is my pick here. I already have 2 good running backs. I could fill another running back like Philip Lindsay or Devontae Freeman, Darius Geis at that flex spot that I have here. And I could also go and target a wide receiver. But looking at the wide receivers, I wouldn't mind going for like an Edelman or a Baldwin in a little bit. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to pick up Baker Mayfield here. Picking up in the first 5 rounds, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver. Now, as I sit here, boom, there goes Julian Edelman, available for me to pick up. And, man, no one could guard Edelman in the playoffs. And I hope that continues to stand true. This last season, he missed the first 4 games of the year. No big deal. Because for the fall or the games following that, what was it? I guess there's 13 weeks following that, because there's 17 total weeks in the NFL season, regular season, at least in fantasy. There was only 2 games in which he had less than 10 points. It was the first week he came back against the Indianapolis Colts, and then there was another game, I think it was around week 13, but every other game he had 10 plus points in fantasy, half-point PPR scoring. And honestly, they're going to continue to use him because of just how good he is. Super Bowl MVP sitting here at the 6th round. I'll take Julian Edelman, so don't mind if I do. Just looking at the running backs really quickly, don't want to make any rash decisions here. Looking at tight ends, O.J. Howard's still there, Hunter Henry, Eric Ebron. Those are 3 guys that I would be happy to have on my team. But for sure, of the available guys, I will take Super Bowl MVP Julian Edelman as my number 2 wide receiver moving forward. All right, let's see what other breakdown happens here. I know I'm not paying attention against, I'm talking about what else is moving on in the draft, but to be honest, in these drafts, no 2 drafts looks the same. Anybody can go at any time. Tyler Lockett, who was the next available best wide receiver after Edelman, ended up going 8 picks after me, so you just never know sometimes. But the way I'm seeing it, I don't ever have to pay attention to the quarterback position again. But what I do need is probably that next flex spot. I have a regular flex spot that could be filled with a running back, tight end, or wide receiver. So probably want to look to see if I can pick up another running back and fill him in that flex spot. The available guys here, Jordan Howard, Mark Ingram, James White, I don't really see much value there. I understand that Jordan Howard, I mean, he didn't look great last year. Tariq Cohen really was able to take over that backfield. Mark Ingram, I don't even know if he's going to end up back in New Orleans. That even being said, Alvin Kamara is the number one there. James White, he was productive. He was able to be a good running back last season, but that was a lot. That a lot had to do with the fact that Sony Michel and Rex Burkhead both were injured for a majority of the season. That pretty much contributed to why James White was a top 12 running back in half-point PPR, full-point PPR formats, because there was nobody else in the backfield. They had to use Cordell Patterson as a running back at times. So really, it's whoever is associated in that backfield as being the goal line back who's going to be efficient, and that's Sony Michel. He's already gone. So do I really want to spend for these guys right now? Man, I really need a third running back. Let's see what else I have at the wide receiver position. Perhaps I can go and attack here. Marvin Jones, not a bad pick. Robbie Anderson, Sutton. As of right now, I'm not really impressed with what's available, to be honest. That being said, I feel like Eric Ebron, not a bad pick either. I'm just kind of looking around here. I know rookies could be drafted. If I'm not mistaken, there's somewhere in here. But I don't know exactly where. Yeah, look, Josh Jacobs, free agent. I think there's other guys sitting around here. Where's the other free agent running backs? Anyway, you never know where they're going to go. Free agent as in they're rookies, if you guys were curious. Anyway, so as of right now, probably Eric Ebron's looking like, I'm just looking at the build of my team. 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. Not really impressed with, what's available at the running back position. And I really like what they've been doing with Eric Ebron. Andrew Luck uses the tight end position more than any other team in the National Football League. He loves using his tight ends. He loves throwing the ball to the tight end position. And I think whether or not Jack Doyle is there, Eric Ebron is a red zone threat. And, he was a Pro Bowler this last year. A lot of people didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. But he was able to, contribute a lot to this offense. And I think he'll continue to do that going forward. I really don't want to draft Jordan Howard. I really don't. So let's say, for example, I don't draft a running back here. Where's my next best running back? Do I have a pick after this? I do have a pick after this. So I could potentially get James White. So, yeah, that's what we'll do. We're going to go ahead. If I don't... Yeah, let's go ahead. I really feel like Eric Ebron's the best potential pick here. Let's see what else goes off the board. Jordan Howard's the next running back. Not a big deal. I'm okay with losing him. Will Fuller would have been a decent pick. Mike Williams, not, great. I already have my second quarterback. No worries. So what we'll do is we'll take James White. I think, having 2 pieces of the Patriots offense, it's a little bit difficult to approach it that way. But to be honest, he's just so efficient. Whether or not Sony Michel is there, he continues to get the third down work, and I'm sure he'll be able to continue to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and take this guy in the 8th round. Again, he was a top 12 running back last season. I understand I debunked that that argument, but still, I think he's the best available, and he could pretty much fit in my flex spot pretty well. So we'll take James White here. It's better than Robbie Anderson. I really feel like I can get a better wide receiver 3 with smaller guys like Adam Humphries, guys in the slot that continue to get a bunch of targets. Let's see here. Okay, so now that we sit here, I could either look to go grab some depth at the running back position, which I really don't see a lot of depth remaining. Backup, free agent. LaShawn McCoy did not look good. Backup, I don't even know how the Jets running backs are going to end up. So as of right now, we're probably going to go and we're going to look for a wide receiver. Now, what is the best available? Again, as I mentioned, I like Adam Humphries. I'm looking to try to pick up number 3 wide receivers that have good quarterbacks. I don't want to go and get Sterling Shepard when Eli Manning's quarterback. I don't want to look for Christian Kirk when Josh Rosen's the quarterback. Not looking for Anthony Miller because of Mr. Trubisky over there. Kiki Cutie's not bad. D.D. Westbrook, nope. Gallup, nope. Goodwin, nope. I know Goodwin's been good in 2017 with Garoppolo, but he really just he screwed everybody last year. So Adam Humphries is the best guy as of right now sitting here. Maybe potentially Geronimo Allison. If you're the number 2 wide receiver in a Aaron Rodgers-led offense, you're going to have value. That is a given. So whether he ends up being that number 2 wide receiver, I guess it's just going to have to wait and see. Larry Fitzgerald's not bad. These other guys, Scantling, okay. Nuno's not bad. So we'll queue up Larry Fitzgerald as well. I already have my tight end. Evan Ingram's not bad sitting there, but I've already spent a little bit of picks here and there. So now that we sit here and I'm looking at this, I think I can wait for Adam Humphries. I don't think many people really pay much attention to him. So as of right now, I think Tevin Coleman's probably the next best pick. I'm assuming he's not going to be re-signed with the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like there are other teams in the NFL that will go out and try to sign him for his services, potentially the New York Jets, potentially the Raiders, maybe teams like the Jets, Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans. There are a lot of teams, that need running back help, and I think Tevin Coleman can help a lot of teams. So we know that he can be a starting running back. I'm just going to go ahead and hope that he ends up signing with a different team. If I knew for a fact 1,000% he was going to end up back in Atlanta, I probably wouldn't have taken him there. But I really do feel like he's going to test the market and he's going to go and move on from Atlanta. All right, looking at what's available. As I mentioned, I don't want Dede Westbrook, but let's see what left. Is Adam Humphries still? Yep, Adam Humphries should still be down here somewhere. Let's go ahead and grab him. Goodwin. Sanders coming off an Achilles injury. I don't think you ever look the same after an Achilles injury has hit you. It's really tough to come back from one of those. So of the available players, I understand, there's Elijah McGuire, who could be a starting running back this season, assuming that there are no, free agent signings of the Jets. Gus the Bus Edwards looked good in the second half of the season for the Ravens. There are a couple guys here that pop out to me, but as of right now, I think I want to go ahead and lock up that 3rd wide receiver spot. I already grabbed that 4th running back, So we're going to go ahead and pick up Adam Humphries. The guy was a top 12 wide receiver in full point PPR scoring formats in the second half of the season. I mean, the amount of targets and receptions he got from Jameis Winston, everything was going his way. There were games where he was just blowing up, and there sat Mike Evans on the other side of the field catching no balls. And especially as we have a Bruce Arians offense where a lot of that offense was dictated on, hey, we're going to throw it deep, but we're also going to throw short passes here and there. And if they don't have a receiving back to throw the ball to, Adam Humphries is that little short receiver that over the middle, short yardage, is going to see a lot of targets. I like the idea of drafting Larry Fitzgerald, but then again, let's look at the running back depth that's available. Dion Lewis is the best available guy going forward. I don't want my 3rd Patriot, so Burkhead's off the list. Kareem Hunt is not going to play for the first 8 games, I'm assuming, like I mentioned in last week's video. If you haven't checked that out, please go and check that out. So Dion Lewis is probably the best available. I don't want to draft any quarterbacks yet because I feel like in a Superflex, it's perhaps a little too early right now. Larry Fitzgerald's the best available. Antonio Callaway could step up, but I think Enunwa would probably be the next best. James Washington with Antonio Brown potentially leaving. Jose Jones, Muhammad Sunu. There's some depth there at the wide receiver position. So maybe going ahead and establishing a little bit more strength at the running back position is not a bad idea with a guy like Dion Lewis. But how much am I going to use Dion Lewis? I have Damian Williams. I have Melvin Gordon. And I already have James White and Tevin Coleman that can alternate depending on matchups. So as of right now, I think I kind of want to go ahead and bolster up my wide receiver position. In his last year, I think, there's going to have to be a little bit of a switch. And Larry Fitzgerald's going to see a lot of targets. Josh Rosen really has no one else to throw the ball to. So let's go with Larry Legend. Let's pick him up. Let's put him on my bench real quick as we approach the 12th round. I already have a tight end. There's a couple there's a belief system I have for drafts. I don't like drafting 2 tight ends, and I don't like drafting defenses or kickers until after, like a couple weeks into the preseason. Now, that being said, this is going to probably force me to draft a kicker and a defense. Otherwise, I'm going to get an F score, or grade, excuse me. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll kind of confine to it, but I'm never drafting a second tight end. I'll probably just pick up one depending on my bye week of my my tight end. And I don't think it says, it doesn't say bye week. So let's go ahead and look down at the running back position, probably get a little bit more depth. Nyheim Hines, Duke Johnson, Latavius Murray. There's not really much talent here that, yes, there are some handcuffs available, but I don't really think that anybody here really pops off the screen. Chris Thompson a little bit, maybe Jamal Williams. Guys that potentially could split carries within their team. Chris Thompson only because of the fact that in the third down situations, he's probably going to get majority of the use rather than Darius Guice. I could go out and grab a third quarterback, but of the available 3, none of them really, kind of pop off the screen for me. Is there, where's Jordy Nelson? I really didn't even see Jordy Nelson. Maybe he retired. I don't know. I don't really think I need to. Valdez-Scantling could be good, but that really just depends if he's a second wide receiver there. Okay, so of what's available, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to draft another running back, kind of fill out a little bit of depth at the running back position. As of right now, looking at what's available, I kind of want to take my little bit of a risk here with old faithful Chris Thompson, but I'm going to have to think about this for a little bit. I understand this may be taking a little long, ladies and gentlemen, but these are the picks that really matter. So all teams have drafted 2 quarterbacks at least. All teams have drafted 3 running. Okay, tight ends. There's a couple teams that don't have a tight end yet. So I could take a tight end in this spot and then go ahead and trade him later on. That's a strategy within itself. But I'm not really looking to pick up a guy like Jared Cook who, when I can go ahead and pick up a guy like Greg Olsen or Trey Burton, Chris Herndon, who really stepped up last season. Jimmy Graham. Look at that, Jimmy Graham. He can be my second tight end. I don't got to worry about that right now. So as I sit here, I don't really like these running backs. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to draft the third quarterback of my team. Of the available best guys, I don't like any of them. I truly don't. So it makes it that much harder to go ahead and approach this and try to pick up the best. But I think, oh God, I'm not doing that. I don't want Derek Carr. The guy was crying about Stephen A. Smith roasting him the other day. I don't want 38-year-old Eli Manning. I don't want Josh Rosen, who looks like he's lost out there. Ryan Tannehill's likely going to be... You know what I want? I want Kyler... where is he? Let me see. Let me see if I can F3 this. Kyler Murray, where you at? No? I want Kyler Murray. That's what I want. Are rookies not here? Let me see. Is there a free agent? Come on. Is there an FA here? No? Damn it. I thought there were free agents. There's no Kyler Murray? I want Kyler Murray. Probably would have went earlier in this draft, but I want Kyler Murray as my third quarterback. So let that be known, ladies and gentlemen. I want Kyler Murray as my third quarterback because wherever he ends up, he's going to be good. I think some of these rookie quarterbacks, they struggle a little bit, but the other ones, they step up and they look good. Okay, anyway, I got to cut this BS. I've been taking too long to make this pick. We're going to go with Quincy Enunwa. Just off of the fact that I just think he's better than what's available on the board. Okay, let's see here. Now that wow, Jared Cook is still on the board. That is just unbelievable. Okay, what else went? A bunch of picks here and there. Defenses are going off the board. I don't draft defenses until way later. I'm not going to waste my time with defenses. Austin Eckler's gone. That's not a big deal. But, I understand as a handcuff that he was pretty valuable last season without just being handcuffed. He was able to produce in games, but I don't know if it was worth picking him up there. So as of right now, I'm probably going to go with either Jamal Williams or Chris Thompson. Personally, Jamal Williams doesn't seem like a bad choice, even though Aaron Jones has looked decent. So right now, is there no Kyler Murray? I'm actually getting pissed off. I feel like it should have been here. I swear there's rookies. Maybe there wasn't. All right, either way. So as we sit here, I'm not going with Latavius Murray, Donta Foreman, Isaiah Crowell. I don't even think Crowell will be on the team approaching next season. So we'll just go ahead. We're going to take Chris Thompson because I've been talking about him for so long. You know what? Yeah, we'll just go and take Chris Thompson. Another one of these PPR running backs that can have pretty big games. Goodness gracious, nobody wants Jared Cook. Literally Sasquatch. Nobody wants him. And that's not a big deal. So I'll go ahead and I'll take my third quarterback. As of right now, I believe Case Keenum will be the starting quarterback of the Redskins. So we'll just go ahead and pick him up in order to just have my third quarterback. I don't really care who it is. As long as I have a third quarterback, that really is the only thing that matters. My last bench spot, as of right now, again, I don't really believe in second tight end, so we'll just go ahead and we'll take probably another running back here. Yeah, I need another running back. And we'll just, I don't want C.J. Anderson. I don't think C.J. Anderson is going to completely just break in half, but perhaps Peyton Barber. Okay, the only reason I say draft Peyton Barber, if they don't sign another running back, I know they signed Andre Ellington the other day. Great. If they don't sign another running back, Peyton Barber is that starting running back of that team. And I just picked him up in the 16th round, or 15th round, excuse me. Let's hope New Orleans defense is not terrible in the beginning of the season, as they usually are, but we'll see. And the final pick of this draft, whatever, Mason Crosby. Great. So be it. Okay, and we really a 77. I think this draft went really well. Personally, I honestly think it went well. I think Andrew Luck and Baker Mayfield as the top two quarterbacks is a really good duo. On top of having Melvin Gordon, Damian Williams, my three wide receivers, they could have been stronger, but to be honest, I feel like I have a pretty solid team here. The depth of the bench position, obviously, I'm looking for more rookies depending on where they get drafted. But as an early draft going into the 2019 season, I think this was pretty successful. Hopefully the commentary on my thought process helped you guys. But if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, any decisions that you thought I should have made that I didn't, go ahead, hit me up in the comment section. I'm really curious and think, on what you guys think. Again, this was fantasypros.com. If you're curious on how to get here and draft yourself and see if you can kind of outdraft me at the number 8 spot, go for it. Otherwise, let's go ahead. Let's get back to what we were originally doing, which was talking about this podcast, shall we? Okay, so I'm back. All right, here we go. So now that we've completed that 2019 mock draft, where are we at here? We're talking about a couple of the things that came out in the news when it comes to fantasy football, right? Specifically, number one, we're going to talk a little bit about the Steelers, but we're going to talk about Le'Veon Bell to an extent. And, excuse me, I don't know what the heck's going on with my throat. Maybe I need some water to clear my throat. Let's see. I've been talking for too long. Okay. So here's the thing about Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, as many of us know, last season, he screwed us over. Okay, he was held hostage by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They didn't want to give him an extended contract, and he was not willing to play and potentially risk an injury in order to, play and, kind of gamble on his career. We all know Le'Veon Bell is playing for the money. He's not looking for championships. He wants to ensure his future of his family, get as much money as possible. It's respectable. That's the decision you make as an adult. I can respect that decision. I probably would do the same. Money is pretty powerful, especially when you can only play this game for so long. So as of right now, Le'Veon Bell, he's not going to be franchise tagged. He's not going to be hit with the transition tag. He is officially a free agent. And where he ends up signing, that's the question at hand, right? A lot of us don't know where he's going to end up, but there's a couple teams that are going around, a couple names being thrown around that potentially he could end up at. So number one, I think there's a couple teams, okay? So there are teams like the Jets and the Raiders that have been thrown around, and there are a little bit more intriguing kind of places he could end up, locations, destinations, I should say, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts. Those are some teams that are really intriguing that I think fantasy-wise would automatically make him a first-round pick if he was to end up on those teams. So I don't want to talk about this too long, but because it's all speculation, of course, right? So number one, the Jets. Okay, they have a lot of cap space, but they also have Elijah McGuire sitting there who was able to step up after coming back from his injury last season, right? He didn't start the beginning of last season because of an injury he sustained in the training camp. So as soon as he came back, he was still able to be efficient. In the last couple weeks of the season, many of us know he was a fantasy savior. He was a guy that I talked about, pick him up as a fantasy hidden gem earlier on in the season. In the playoffs with Sam Darnold, once he came back and Josh McCown went back into his under the bridge or whatever the heck, because he's a troll. he was able to be efficient. So Elijah McGuire is a good running back. So whether he ends up there, it's just a question of whether or not teams want to spend the money. Are teams willing to go out and spend a lot of money for Le'Veon Bell? Because we know he refused to get paid. I think the offer was about $13.5 million per year that the Steelers gave him a couple years back. So if he's not willing to take that, I'm not sure there's a market available for him as of right now, especially when the draft is coming along. There are a lot of other free agent running backs like Tevin Coleman, Mark Ingram. There are guys that are going to be cheaper and they can be just as efficient as a Le'Veon Bell. I understand he's a very talented running back, but there are also other opportunities and other guys that you can pick up. The running back position, yes, there are guys like Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Devontae Freeman that are getting their paydays, but there are also other guys that are coming out of nowhere. There are running backs that are rookies, McCaffreys, there are Alvin Kamara's, there are Saquons, there are Ezekiel Elliott's that are coming out of these drafts that are taking over the league. And to be honest, not sure if we need to be investing in a 29-year-old running back as of right now. So moving on, the Raiders, I don't really think that the Raiders are going to spend money for him. They're currently in the rebuilding process. They are trading away players in order to get picks. Don't think they want to go ahead and spend money when they're really not trying to win many games. I think they're trying to tank. It's a rebuilding process, and I don't think Le'Veon Bell is a part of that blueprint. So I probably think that he is not going to end up there. The other three options, like I mentioned, these are great destination points. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, under Bruce Arians, we saw David Johnson have one of the best fantasy seasons as a running back, maybe of all time. I understand Todd Gurley's been trying to, put his name in that hat, but David Johnson came out of nowhere that season. He was fantastic. And I think if you can have a talent like Le'Veon Bell within this offense in Tampa Bay, goodness gracious, that could be fantastic. And this is another way to get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the next level. You are playing in a tough division. You play in a division which, the Saints should have been in the Super Bowl this year. Could have potentially been a couple the year prior, 2017, the Minnesota Miracle. The year prior to that, the Falcons were in the Super Bowl. A couple years prior to that, the Panthers were in the Super Bowl. This is a tough division. If you want to win games, you've got to spend money. And potentially, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could go ahead and make their pitch for Le'Veon Bell. Now, other places I'd like to see him, other destinations, the Houston Texans. Imagine having Le'Veon Bell, DeAndre Hopkins, and Deshaun Watson. I understand the offensive line's not great there. I understand that. But Le'Veon Bell is going to still be able to produce just like how Alfred Blue and Lamar Miller were able to do. And trust me, Le'Veon Bell's a better running back. He'll be able to figure it out. Imagine that offense. And especially a team that was capable of winning 9 games, making the playoffs. I understand they had their early exit in the playoffs. That being said, Le'Veon Bell would elevate this offense. And that's not a bad place to land either. Lamar Miller's pretty much 1 foot out the door, probably going to be cut or traded, or they should get rid of him. That's all I'm saying, okay? Other than that, the last destination that's been thrown around, Indianapolis Colts. I think this is the least likely between these three that I was mentioning. That could be, pretty big deal. Just how good the offensive line of the Indianapolis Colts is, that's just in itself a ridiculous just imagine how good this offensive line is, how good Andrew Luck is. If you throw Le'Veon Bell in this offense, it's great. But they have guys like Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines that are just as capable of producing. And I think they're going to be able to live without spending about $15 million a year on a Le'Veon Bell. So they probably pass on him. Now, speaking of Steelers, obviously we know Antonio Brown, just like Le'Veon Bell, I think they're going to let him go. I think they're going to cut the cord. They're not going to have to worry about it. And they're going to let these guys walk because, to be honest, there's too much drama surrounding the Steelers organization, and I think they need to go ahead and just separate themselves from this. So hopefully Antonio Brown can end up getting traded. Obviously, they're not going to trade him within the division because they don't want to trade him to a competitor in order to get Antonio Brown back into Pittsburgh and him light them up and them instantly regret the scenario. But either way, I think that there is a lot of destinations for both of these guys, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. Hopefully they can figure it out as soon as possible. So fantasy-wise, my mock drafts will be a little bit easier. But speaking of number 1 wide receivers like Antonio Brown, a little bit of news came out with Odell Beckham this past week, specifically some rumors on whether he was going to be traded or not. Now, a couple weeks back, Jay Glazer, a reporter for Fox Sports, if I'm not mistaken, the bald guy. Short, stocky guy. If you guys are familiar, I think he's got a goatee or something. He came out and said that Odell Beckham is going to be traded. Now, we're all sitting there thinking, what the heck is this guy saying? There's no way Odell Beckham is going to be traded. He's too good. Just got re-signed. He's one of the two best players on this team. Saquon and him, the dynamic duo of New York. Like, there's no way. And then the reports start coming out that he was almost traded to the Patriots, that there was some intrigue from other teams like the 49ers or the Packers, and all this news is coming out that there's an actual market for him and that they're potentially looking around. Now, that being said, goodness gracious, this is actually not a bad thing for Odell Beckham. To be honest, I'd rather Odell Beckham go to San Francisco or go to Dallas or go to Miami. I don't care where he ends up. Let him leave this team, because if they're going to continue to hold Eli Manning as their quarterback, a 38-year-old Eli Manning, if he's going to continue to be the number one quarterback here in New York, goodness gracious, let him go. Trade away Odell Beckham, because it's really hurting him. I think fantasy-wise, and I think his legacy is being hurt. I think if you can get him with a good quarterback, like an elite quarterback, a top 10 quarterback, goodness gracious, just imagine how good Odell Beckham would be. He's been dealing with Eli Manning, and he's been this good. I think Odell Beckham, if he was to get traded, fantastic. Obviously, there's a market for number one wide receivers. We've seen teams going and looking for Antonio Brown. So why not go get a younger wide receiver with Odell Beckham that his contract, yes, he's signed, but I honestly think there's less maintenance. I understand that people are afraid, his offseason, problems, blah, blah, blah. Le'Veon Bell has offseason problems himself, okay? These guys everybody has an offseason problem, okay? Just as long as they're not on the juice, they're fine. They're not going to get suspended for too long. So hopefully, Odell Beckham, in my opinion, will hopefully be traded. If he ends up staying with the New York Giants, so be it, okay? That'll end up helping Saquon if he ends up staying, because at least there will be another threat within this offense, so they don't have to stack the box and kill Saquon. So I guess only time will tell. These are the reports right now. This is pretty much the biggest news. I just want to thank everybody for watching. Any other thoughts on the matter? I just feel like I don't know how many people really want to pay Le'Veon Bell a lot of money. And I don't know how crazy the Giants are, but if they're crazy enough to trade Odell Beckham, so be it. Let Odell Beckham go, and maybe to the Browns. That'd be a damn good team. Maybe to another contender. Maybe to the Bears. You never know. There are a lot of great places he can end up, and I just can't wait to see what happens. Either way, thank you everybody for watching. If you haven't already, click that like button down below. If you haven't, subscribe. Click that bell button. You see, where's the little bell button? Right down there. Yeah. That gives you my videos. As soon as they come out, boom, you get a notification. So you can watch them. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. And until next week, this was episode 2 of the Kirchhoff Podcast. And I'll see you guys later. All right, peace.